Hi, Nick Smith here. I'm going to run through a quick setup routine for the outdoor module of Lighting Reality. The first thing we need to do is to load in a drawing, browse to the location. It goes to My Documents Lighting Reality DXS as the default location, and we can go to, once the drawing is loaded, it brings up this dialog box here. Go to set area, that will set the extent of the calculation area to the extent of the drawing, and then go to select area to zoom in on the area of interest that we want to apply the lighting design to. I've got a separate tutorial that deals with the preparation of drawings. This drawing is actually in millimeters. You can see here from scale factor. The drawing ideally wants to be in meters, and I'll deal with that on a separate piece of video. But this scale factor here shows you that the drawing is in millimeters. So I've set that up. The next thing I need to do, again, I always recommend you work left to right on the screen. Start off putting in the project information, the project number. The designer's name comes in by default, as does the date, and you can add title page notes if you want to as well. The second icon in is really important. We need to set up our calculation area so that the grid spacing is less than 1.5 meters, and we have this coloring scheme within the program. So if it's red, you really need to do something about it. If it's amber or this sort of yellowy color, then you could ideally need to do something about it. And as we increase the grid number of grid points, you can see here that the grid spacing changes, and then ultimately it'll go white, and that is go ahead and do your lighting design. And the same thing in the y-axis as well. There's two reasons for this. Three reasons actually. The first one is 1.5 meters or less is the requirement of the European standard, EN 13201 Part 3 Section 7.2.9 in the 2015 edition. Also, we utilize these grid points here to calculate the isocontours within Lighting Reality. And thirdly, once you go much below about 1.5 meters, the uniformity values that we calculate in the quality figures up here remain pretty much the same. I always recommend you put in a name for the grid, and also you use some kind of color as well. And when we talk about multiple grids, which I'm going to do in a separate screencast, it becomes important, particularly using the roads, the name for the grid, and also the colouring as well. Okay, so I'm just going to turn the points off and the grid off. We're in Luminaire editing mode up here in the top, so I can go through and select a Luminaire. Now, normally preceding this, you would have done a calculation in the roadway program, and you would have added to the favorites perhaps, or you would know the particular fitting that you want to use. I'm actually going to go through and use a specific one, and I'm going to use the R5 lens. We're going to go with I think probably that one. So I can then go through and insert a column. I'm going to put that there. The way I tend to do my lighting design is I tend to use contours. This particular project I'm going to design to an average of 1 and a minimum of 5. So I'm going to set the 1 lux contour. I've turned off the 20. I've set the 5 lux contour. And I'm going to turn off the other couple as well. So zooming in using the wheel on the mouse, you can of course use the magnifying glass up here and the hand here to pan around. Because I use CAD so much, I tend to use the wheel to zoom in and out, and then by pressing the wheel down we can pan around as well. So right click on here, brief explanation of what's going on. The X and Y coordinates are based on the center of that red circle. So as we move the column around, you can see the X and Y coordinates are changing. The height is the vertical inclination of the lantern. Angle is the rotation, and we can rotate the column around. Tilt is the vertical inclination. We can also pick up the white square and rotate that around if we need to. And the outreach is the dimension from the center of the column to the optical center of the lantern. I'm using the micro here, so I'm going to use a value of 0.35. So if I were to go and select another column and insert that over there, it goes back to all of the default values. If I right click on the red bit, select the Save as Default option, I can then position another column further down the road and others elsewhere in the project. Let's go there, spin that around. Let's go there. It's not a brilliant position, that, but it will do. Let's go there. Let's have a column opposite the junction. Let's have a column, say there. Okay, can we move that one across a bit? Nope. We'll have a column definitely there. This development is actually going to be extended further here, so so I've put that column in there with that in mind. I know some people like to design what they're doing now, but I know that this is going to move on quite quickly, this development, so yeah, I think I probably need another column in there. Let's go with one on the other side of the road. Let's go with one there. Okay, a couple of things at this point. I like to try and create what I call this island effect around the column, so that and I chose the contour values. I'm looking for an average of 5 and a minimum of 1. I've used those two values, and I like to create this island effect. What I tend to find is that if you start getting this process here, where you start getting the contour levels merging together, what I tend to find that means you've got too much light going on the project. But we'll go through and we'll work on that fitting at 3000 lumens, and maybe I'll come back and make some adjustments to that later on. You can see how those two are merging together there. Okay, so in the top right hand corner up here, you can see we've got the average, the minimum, and the uniformity, and there are calculation points all over the area. What we need to do is to exclude the calculation points that are outside our area of interest, and we do that using masking. Now, I tend to blank and cut out, but you can also, so I would use this process like so. So you can see the results. You can, if you want to, just go through and mask out areas like so. It doesn't really much matter. I'll do a separate tutorial on masking, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to run that around the edge. Like so. So one of the things to bear in mind is that we can pick up any point and then carry on. Left click. So I'll pick up that point there, left click, and then I can then carry on with that masking around the area like so, and then right click to finish. Left click and so on. Now what I tend to do is to go through and put a really rough contour masking in something like that, and I will then go through and tidy it up after. And there's something in particular that I want to show you. The other thing I try to do is to also use strategic pieces of information on the drawing for where my where the points are, so that you can pick up those points and move them about, because you know where they are or where they're likely to be. Now, I tend to go clockwise with my masking, so that means I can go through and pick up points and then carry on with the masking around the area, like so and so. However, if you go the other way, then let me just undo what I've just done. If I go the other way, then what you can do is get yourself in a bit of a mess in terms of masking. So I often find that when you're preparing a project, that is a good point to try and save the design. Okay, so we've got a really rough layout there. I'm just going to go hide the masking in the top toolbar. So you can now see how the points that we had set up beyond the calculation area that are going on up here are being used to calculate these the outer contours that go beyond the area. So I'm going to go back to my edit Luminaire option, and I'm just going to move a few of these columns around. I'm going to move that one to there, on the corner. And so on. Reasonably happy with those column positions. I've got this island option thing going around most of the columns except here, and it's very possible that what I can do is to go in and change to a lower lumen package fitting. Can you see as I'm what I'm looking at is as I reduce the levels, these values here are going down, so that's probably a step too far. So let's go with that option there. Maybe we just have to live with that as the way it is. Okay, so that's how we set up a really quick project in Lighting Reality. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please add them to the area below, and I'll respond to those as quickly as I can. You can message me through YouTube. You can tweet me at nicksmith1246 through Twitter. You can email me at support@nicksmithassociates.com. And if you found this useful, please subscribe to the channel for future updates. And finally, if you have a topic that you want me to cover, please message me through YouTube, through LinkedIn, through Twitter, nicksmith1246, or email me support@nicksmithassociates.com. Hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.